Good morning again. Welcome to yoga practice. So this is a weekend where we're having a yoga psychology training, and our focus is actually on how yoga supports people recovering from addiction. And we can say in that realm of addiction, things like compulsivity or habituation or behaviors that you know you want to change, but you aren't able to make the change consistently. So you may not, classify it for yourself as an addiction, but you may have some behaviors that are repetitive that you would like to stop doing or do less of. And you may have other things that you would like to start doing, but you aren't able to initiate or manifest those consistently. So I'm putting this in the realm of addiction because if we think of addiction as something that's habituation, repetition, and it's difficult to interrupt it or to change it, then a lot of us can relate to what it's like to have difficulty updating behaviors. In our society, of course, we name addiction to be more significant than that, and usually it has an activity, a substance, something that's mind-altering. I would propose that most of what we're doing in daily life can have a mind-altering component to some extent, like caffeine, which is not seen as in the same light as things like alcohol, marijuana, and other drugs, for example. So when we say addiction, we're going to take all those sort of behaviors that we're using and we find difficulty in interrupting, and we're going to add to that, is there some, shall I say, it's not only difficult to change it, it's also shifting your mind and your mood. And when that shift happens, you feel even less motivated to change it. So you may have like a clear, wise mind on board at times, and you think, I really ought to make a change in this particular behavior. And yet when you engage with the substance, the activity, and so on, it changes your motivation away from making a better decision. A second component of addiction, how it gets classified that way in this culture, and I would agree with this also, is that it has the ability to negatively influence our relationships. That could be our relationship with ourselves or with others. So in some cases, you may have behaviors that you wish you could change and you'd like to, but they may not yet be adversely affecting your relationships. I would suggest that they ultimately will, and or they are in subtle ways right now, because we're not at our best when we can't put behaviors into place that we want to use to increase our vitality or improve our sense of mental clarity. So there's two components above that sense of like, here's the behaviors. And one of those is it's mind altering and suppresses our motivation. And the other is it influences our relationships adversely or negatively. And a third thing is it's very preoccupying, right? So once you want the substance, the activity, the behavior, you could feel heavily preoccupied by the thing until you get it, until it's acquired. And so above that, if we were to put it in like this hierarchy, then there is this, we have mood changes dropping motivation. We have relationship changes causing harm or difficulty, maybe some difficulty with trustworthiness in relationships. And then we have this experience where now we're heavily preoccupied. And yet, given all of that, we repeat it. We're having negative consequences, but we're repeating the behavior. And that's kind of one way to look at what is addiction. In our society, of course, I've said this before, we go so far as to then criminalize certain addictions, which I don't think is helpful. And we also go so far as to stigmatize most people who have addiction. That's also not that helpful. But from the lens of yoga, we're going to be looking at how do we empower ourselves to make changes in our lives that are proactive towards our increased vitality, clarity of mind, and then our ability to actually experience yoga. Not just to do asana, but to experience yoga. Of course, if you have questions or comments, you can always leave those down below this video, or if you're in class right now, you can put them in the chat box as well. Okay, please take a comfortable seat and rest your hands in your lap. Drop your hands to your lap. You can close your eyes. Lengthen up through your spine and yet relax the outer body down. The place between the eyebrows can soften. The skin at the corners of the eyes can relax. Release the hinge of your jaw. As you lengthen your spine, welcome the sides of the neck to relax. Soften your throat. Check and see if your body's having any responses to what I was talking about. Release your shoulder blades and the space between your shoulder blades. Check and see what is alive in your heart based on our discussion. Expand at the back of your waist and diaphragm and relax the floating ribs down. And see whatever is present in the abdomen as a result of the discussion. And even as you lengthen the spine up, drop your hips and your pelvis down. From the lens of yoga, what we say about these addictions or compulsivities or habituations that are not helpful is that it dysregulates or disorganizes our prana, and therefore our doshas move out of balance. And so one role that a yoga practice can play is to reorganize the prana in the body. And now allow your breathing to deepen into the lower abdomen. Connect in the place where both your inhale and your exhale begin, which is in the low seat of the pelvis. And with the inhale, you want to have a sense that it rises from the base of the pelvis, moving upwards, expanding circumferentially. And with the exhale, toning or zipping up the lower belly, reconnecting to your essential stability. Notice the influence of the breath in just a few breath cycles. You're already regulating the prana in the body, giving it a chance to move more evenly. You're also adjusting your heart rate variability. You're giving a message to your lymph system about the pulsation of cleansing, restoring. And then please raise your hands to your heart. And may this practice help us to overcome forgetfulness of our potential. May we overcome tamas or darkness. May we not have our best self concealed by our own habituated behaviors. May this practice help us to move into Jyoti, the light we need for clear seeing. Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Harihi Om. You may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands, open your eyes. All of the kitties have gotten quiet, so that is good news for me and also for you. See what happens if when I stand up, they get activated again. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to come into a pose called Sukhasana, where you can cross the ankles. That means that your seat is more narrow based like this. Yeah, and you can change the cross of the ankles if you have a preferred way of doing that. Right. And so working from the top down, we're going to be recalibrating prana. So what happens in the case of preoccupation and let's say anxiety with addiction or often with ruminating thoughts about things is that our prana tends to go up to the head and we're leaving the body. That's also the case if you're using substances that kind of douse you or dampen or make the body feel heavy or lethargic, that tamas. And so we get disconnected from the lower body and we tend to have this excess prana up in the chest, throat, and head, which we can identify as anxiety. So we're going to be moving down into the body. So place your hands out over your knees and pull up through the crown of your skull so that the spine is kind of taut right now. And then tip your left ear towards your left shoulder, bring your chin towards your right collarbone. Breathe in. And breathe out. Inhale your head up to center. Exhale, right ear towards your right shoulder. Keep the left arm taut. Bring your chin towards your left collarbone. Breathe in. Breathe out. Inhale, float your head up. Exhale to the other side. So keep the right arm taut. Chin towards the right collarbone. Inhale up. Exhale down to your right. Chin in. Left arm taut. Next inhale, raise your head up. Exhale, turn your chin to your right as far as it goes. And then Tip the back of your head towards your left shoulder. Inhale, rise up, gazing right. Exhale, rotate your head to your left as far as it goes. Okay, tip the back of your head towards your right shoulder while gazing left. Come up, gazing left. Exhale to center. Interlace your fingers, take the heels of the hands forward and up. Exhale, bring your hands down behind the base of your skull so that the pinkies are there. Wrap the elbows forward. Inhale to look up. Exhale to level. Take the elbows wide. Squeeze the upper back. And now turning to your right. When you twist like this, bring the left elbow across. Raise the right elbow up. So the arms are like mechanically supporting the rotation. And then inhale back to center. And exhale, twist to your left. Bring the right elbow forward and the left elbow up. And then inhale, let's come back to center. Tip your head back into your hands. Inhale, raise the arms up and look down. And exhale, float your arms out to the side. Hold the two knees. Inhale. Exhale, left ear down, chin towards your right collarbone. Inhale up. Exhale, right ear down, chin towards your left collarbone. Inhale up to center. Exhale, turn right. Okay, inhale, look up, tip the back of your head towards your left shoulder. Exhale, bring your head to center. Inhale, turn left. Exhale, look up, tip the back of your head towards your right shoulder. And bring your head to center. Interlace your fingers. Inhale the heels of the hands forward and up. Okay, exhale, bring the pinkies down behind your head. Squeeze the upper back. Inhale, wrap both elbows forward and rise. Exhale, squeeze the upper back. Take the elbows wide. Don't push the floating ribs forward if you can help it. Inhale, twist to your right. Left elbow comes across, right elbow up. And then exhale, lean back to your left. Inhale up to center. Okay, exhale, twist to your left. Support your head with your pinky fingers. Lean back. And then come upright and sweep the elbows wide, squeeze the upper back. Okay. Inhale, push up as you look down. And exhale, float the arms wide. Rest your palms face down on your knees. Okay, now coming into the neck and shoulders, we're going to start including more of the upper back. So bring the back of your left hand to the outside of your right knee and hold it firmly with your other hand. So here's my left wrist. It is actually my right wrist, but for you guys, it's my left wrist. Place your right hand on that wrist and begin side bending your left shoulder towards your left knee. Allow the left ear to get heavy. Drop the right shoulder down away from the right ear. Breathe in. If your twist feels stable and your right hand does not need to hold your left hand, then wrap the right arm around behind. Roll your right shoulder up and see if you can turn your head so you're looking up at the upper corner of your room. And then exhale, rise back up to sit. You may feel like a zigzag, like that. You take the back of your right hand across. As you take it across, you can secure your right wrist with your left hand. You twist a little bit to your left and side bend to your right. As you're side bending, if this feels stable enough that you don't need your left hand to secure your right, then wrap the left arm around behind. Roll the left shoulder open and gaze as well as you can up towards the upper corner of your room. And then rise back up to center and take notice when you get here if the zigzag might feel more symmetrical now. Let's make the feet wider. The knees wider, excuse me, by bringing the feet closer, excuse me. So I'm going to ask you to come to Siddhasana. That first one is Sukhasana. This is Siddhasana. So if possible, the feet are lined up with the pubic bone, the knees go wide. Now, when you bring the back of your left hand across, you have to reach farther to get there. So rotate your spine to the right, bring the back of the left hand around to the outside of your right thigh, secure that. And then side bend to your left. There is going to be some pressure of your arm against your abdomen. That's on purpose. And breathe in to sense what is being asked of your body right now. And how can you lovingly respond to what is being asked of your body and what your body is offering in response. If you have the stability for it, the base of your pose is going to be rooted, then you can sweep your right arm past your right ear. And then inhale, rise up. Turn your left hand over on your right thigh and exhale, twist to your right. Make the pelvis stable so your base is stable. You want to inhabit both your left and your right sitting bones here. Keep the back waist broad so you're rotating to open one side of the spine and to stabilize the other side of the spine. And then exhale, come back around to face forward. You may again feel like a zigzag. Let's go the other way. So bring the back of your hand across. You can secure that with your left hand this time. Twist a little bit to your left and side bend to your right. If your pelvis feels stable, if your pose feels stable, then sweep your left arm alongside your face and past your left ear. And then follow your inhale to rise up. Turn your right palm over on your left thigh. Make the spine, symmetrical right now and centered, right? So we're not arching the back, we're not rounding the back. And then exhale and twist to your left. Inhabit both of your sitting bones so your pelvis is stable. Lengthen up through the spine. The back of the body is broad in this twist rather than in spinal extension. It's neutral. And then exhale to unwind and see if you've made like a little corkscrew journey down and are things starting to feel more balanced. We're kind of doing an archaeological dig. We're coming down and down. Now let's take the left leg forward, bring your right knee up. You wrap your left hand around your right shin. So this is a process of corkscrewing down to rebalance the 5 vayus, which are going to rebalance the forms of prana in your body. So wrap your left hand around your right shin, rotate the lower belly, the mid-torso, the chest, and the heart. Walk your right hand behind you. As you twist to your right, keep your pelvis centered so you're not sliding backwards with your right sitting bone. You may look over your right shoulder. You might choose to close the eyes or keep them open. And then can you deliberately imagine the breath expanding the back hemisphere of the body? Let it be really 3-dimensional, coming down into this region of the body. In yoga, we call it samanavayu and apanavayu. According to your nervous system, you're down where the dorsal vagal nerve fibers are. It's really important to embody this region of your body with a deep breath, a loving, rhythmic breath. And then exhale, come around to face forward. Bring the left knee up and in. To learn more about dorsal vagal, as I refer to that, you can check many of the videos on our YouTube channel and discussions and Dharma talks, and also specific yoga practices about that dorsal vagal reflex. But know that the nerve fibers are in the lumbar region of the spine, and dorsal vagal is that isolation, withdrawal, collapse, inward and downward part of the nervous system. So wrap your right hand around here. And so we're not trying to avoid that region in this practice, and we're not trying to dissociate from that reflex. Those are some of the qualities of that reflex, is avoidance and dissociation. So as we're twisting to the left now, let the breath include the back hemisphere of your body. So you have a loving and rhythmic breath into that region of your body. This is the lower abdomen, the mid-abdomen, the back waist. Basically, it's in your gut. And then exhale, let's come around to face forward. Put the soles of the feet together in Baddha Konasana. Remove the cat fuzz. Take a hold of your toes or ankles as you like. And then inhale, lift up. And exhale, come forward. And then notice the breath again coming down into the lower pelvis and the back waist. A loving, rhythmic, and nourishing breath. And then with an inhalation, please rise up to sitting and come back into the pose that you prefer for meditation. Come back to connect with yourself here. And let's just check and see what has changed. What is it like to be in your body now? And what is the quality of your mind. And check in with how you're relating to your inner self. What is that relationship tone like? Is it more affectionate or considerate? Or still a bit restless or more grounded? And how does the prana feel? More organized, more integrated, more evenly dispersed? Or is it still a little bit chaotic or dull? And then acknowledging these efforts, let's just bring the hands to the heart. We'll close that particular section of our practice for today. So I'm leading this practice from a seated position here without much variation on the seat. Also to illustrate that you could adapt this to a psychotherapy practice by having somebody sit on the front edge of the chair. And you can adapt each of those poses to be modified for something more simple for a person who has less mobility. But I want you to be thinking about the ways in which we moved the throat, the spine, the neck, and then how we came to some internal sense there of balance, we hope. And a person gets to be more embodied in their whole body. They're, such a somatic resource. They also get to have their prana more balanced, and then you can proceed with the psychotherapy session from a different place. I hope that's a helpful perspective to take with you. So now let's come up to standing. So building on that, for those of us who are also here for physical asana practice, because that's one way that we do our self-care as a physical asana practice. It's also a way that we learn about ourselves and the human condition. So come on up to standing. Okay, and take a stance, like we're going to call this the jazz dance warm-up pose. So take a wide stance with your feet pointing out, bend your knees. As you come down, if you have hypermobility in your capacity, don't exploit that. So press with both arms against the knees, widen out. So I'm up a couple inches from where I could be, because it's more helpful to have your body be stable and flexible, or to have tone and possibilities. I'm not particularly hypermobile, but I do have plenty of flexibility. So this is not a pose for flexibility for me. Let's root the tailbone down, press out through both arms, both hands. Okay, then gazing straight forward and down towards the floor. Begin your Ujjayi breathing, long, smooth breath cycle in through the nose and out through the nose. When you get more connected to your breath, start balancing your inhale with your exhale, not using any excessive force for either your inhale or your exhale. So it wants to be really harmonious, rhythmic, and smooth. Connect to the strength of your legs and your root system, heels and toes, shins and thighs, pelvic floor, inner belly. And then as you root the tailbone, start bringing the torso upright, release your hands from your knees, bring them out in front. You're now balancing on the strength of the legs and the pelvis. So the back is not overarched here. So take the tailbone down, stretch the inner thighs, tone the outer hips, interlace the fingers. Inhale, rise up. And then exhale, press down, squeeze the hamstrings and glutes, straighten your legs, make the feet parallel, sweep your arms out into a T shape, and bring them down. Reach back to clasp your hands at the small of your back, roll the shoulders back, give a good strong squeeze to the upper back. The last pose was also stretching your hamstrings, not just strengthening them. So as you come down, tone the muscles of your legs, release the weight of your torso and the crown of your skull. Let's squeeze the arms overhead a little bit. Relax your throat. See if the head has the ability to dangle a little bit, like we say, like the ripe fruit on the vine. Balance your inhale with your exhale so it's a consistent, loving, rhythmic experience of the breath. As you next inhale, glide your heart forward, start rising up to standing. Use the hamstrings, root your sitting bones and your tailbone. Once you come up, get your hair out of your mouth. Once you come up, slide your hips forward to be in line with your toes. You're going to stretch the front of the hips, the hip flexors. Lift your heart and begin looking up. And then exhale and release. Let's go heel toe until you're standing in mountain pose. So there are two primary forms of prana that we say Hatha yoga is all about. There are actually 5 forms of prana and then other forms beyond that, but the two primary forms of prana are apana vayu and prana vayu. One is descending and one is rising. So you watched us there, we had quite a bit of time in the descending practice. We were in jazz dance warm-up pose, right? We spent less time in these rising practices, and that's because our society is rising. We're not very grounded. So looking for places to feel grounded, particularly as Vata season continues here in the Pacific Northwest, and it's cold, windy, and dry. We want to be able to be warm and grounded and stable. Right, so now place your feet so they're hip distance apart. Yeah. Okay, inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, bend your knees and come down to chair pose. Breathe in chair pose. Broaden the back of your waist in chair pose. We'll keep the arms lifted, but make them relaxed antennas of energy. Put your body weight a little bit more back into your heels. And then exhale and drape your torso over your thighs. Let the thighs actually touch, so the abdomen and thighs should be in contact. And then slowly straighten your legs only so far as the abdomen and the thighs do not lose contact. So if you've got the knees pretty bent and there's contact, stay there so that you can feel the breath moving into the back of your waist. If you have the knees a little more straight, but there's still contact, go ahead and enjoy that. You do not need to straighten the legs all the way. Notice the breath moving to the back body, the sides of your torso. We're down in the lower nerve fibers again for the dorsal vagal reflex. So make it a loving, rhythmic, and nourishing breath. You may choose to straighten the legs a little bit more if you have the flexibility for that, but don't exploit your flexibility. This is really about the breath, the back body, and those dorsal vagal nerve fibers. We're also nourishing apana vayu, and that's very important for your mental well-being. Now please shift your hands to your hips and rise up to standing. Come into mountain pose. Of course, when you come upright, you might feel a little bit lightheaded. Your body's going to recirculate. So we're going to take a wide stance and move from prasarita into some other hip opening sorts of poses. And we'll keep our energy rebalancing up Pranavayu, and we'll lightly touch Pranavayu from time to time also. It's not that it's not important, it's that prana rises so easily. And we do have a society that's disconnected from here down, if not, from here down. Some of us are disconnected. Some are disconnected from here down. But I'd like to bring the connection back to the whole body for all of us. So come down to prasarita like this. Energize your legs, please. We'll do with 2 straight arms at first. And I'm going to ask you to tip your left heel slightly out. Not tip, I shouldn't say, but scooch your left heel further out. Scooch the right foot directly to be more parallel to the mat. Walk your hands over to about 45 degrees. Now glide both hips back towards your left heel, and you may start feeling into your right hamstring. With your torso on this angle here, it gives a little more space for the breath. It's also easier for some people's hip joints and hamstrings. Strengthen and straighten the right leg without hyperextending it. Press firmly into your left heel and toe. And then as you exhale, bend your right knee deeply. And as you inhale, straighten your right leg slowly. As you exhale, bend your right knee, but keep the left heel grounded. Inhale slowly and straighten. So you're pumping the breath through the body, you're pumping circulation, you're influencing the lymph system. Exhale, bend your right knee. Keep the left heel grounded. One more time, inhale to straighten the right leg. And then this time, exhale, bend your right knee, and keeping the legs in this position. For those of you who have the flexibility for it, you can come down towards your elbows. This is also a wonderful time to reach for your yoga blocks to make the floor closer. Keep reaching back into your left heel. And continue to press your right knee open in line with the third toe. The outer right hip should feel like it's snugged in to align with your heels. So if you had to swing your right hip way back to get your elbows down to the floor, then I'm going to recommend you put some blocks down for your elbows. Maybe they're going to be on the high setting to give you more support. Let's relax the weight of the head. Breathe smoothly and lovingly and rhythmically into the lower body. Return to your fingertips, raise up through the torso. Let's straighten the right leg slowly. Notice the warmth that runs down your leg. You've just sent circulation back towards your foot. Press into your right fingertips. Stay on this 45-degree angle, and please open towards triangle pose. And it's totally appropriate to have your right hand on a block or two. It's also okay to be on the floor, but the hand is quite far forward of the right foot on purpose. Scooch the outer right hip under. Tone the outer left hip. Okay, with an exhale, press into both feet and rise up to standing. And then you're going to scoot the left heel in and the right toes in, and left toes, right toes. Step into mountain pose. Check and see if it feels like you're inhabiting one hemisphere of your body more than the other. So balancing the vata dosha, which is the one that pulls us up, takes our prana into the windmill of the mind. Balancing vata dosha, the poses want to be grounded, stable. We hang out for a while. They're more inward, more downward, like this. Take a wide stance, prasarita. Forward, energize the legs so you're stable. Pardon me. Take the right heel, scooch it out. Turn the left foot directly on your mat. And then walk your fingertips about 45 degrees to the left. You energize both legs and begin with this action of sliding the left hip under and toning the outer right hip. So there's a lot of strength and stability in your foundation. And a loving, smooth, consistent breath cycle. Okay, with your exhale, bend your left knee without losing any ground on the right heel. And inhale, straighten the left leg. Press from your hips down into your feet for extra grounding. Exhale, bend the left knee so it's going to line up with the third toe of your left foot. Inhale to straighten. So the hips are not sashaying backwards towards whatever's behind your yoga mat, like my closet doors. It's not sashaying backwards that way. Exhale, bend. Follow your own breath cycle. Inhale to straighten one more time. And then exhale as you bend your left knee this time, plan to stay a little while. And so there's no competition. No one is measuring you up against themselves or anybody else. You're going to come down to the elbows if it's appropriate for you. Otherwise, put your blocks there for the floor to be higher so it's easier to reach. Press the left knee open consistently. So your left hip is snugged in, kind of in the line between your left heel and your right heel. Let's make it a thoughtful, nourishing, rhythmic breath. And then place your fingertips, rise up to your fingertips and your straight arms, even if you're on your blocks. Inhale and slowly straighten the left leg. Notice the warmth that's going to go down your leg. And then pressing into your left fingertips. Begin twisting to your right. So in this triangle pose, the left foot is at the back of my mat and my left hand is, nearly at the front side of the mat here. So it's different than you may have done in other classes. Draw the left hip back towards your right heel. Tone the right outer hip. So don't think of how far can I slide my right sitting bone. That's not that helpful. You want to have tone at the outer hip here and then rotate through the belly. And raise your right arm if you like. And then exhale to come down. And we're going to return this time. Oh, sorry, exhale, rise up to standing. It's good muscle strength to rise up to standing. And then return the toes in, heel toe, or heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. When you arrive in standing, check and see again, pardon me, how balanced is your prana? What does it feel like in your energy body? It's called the pranamaya kosha. What is it like? Okay. Now we're going to take a little adventure. So I'm just checking that I'm not going to run into anything here. Let me scoop these. I don't have very long limbs, so I'm not that likely to run into stuff. One never knows. Okay, come down to your hands and knees for downward dog pose, which is a totally familiar pose for most of you, so that's not the adventure. My mat is crooked again. I think if you knew me at my studio, you saw me on a regular basis, I would straighten my mat with the hardwood floor. There is a hardwood floor under this whole setup here, but this is important so that there's no sound conduction down to the bedroom that's beneath this space. Okay, so please come to your hands and knees. Step 1 foot back so you know where your plank pose is. And then step the other foot back. So there's your plank pose. And then let's stretch into downward dog pose. You might take a toe step in for your dog pose to be more stable. But your downward dog should not be that much shorter than your plank pose. Maybe that little toe step I was talking about, but not a whole lot shorter. Okay, a loving and rhythmic breath into the lower hemisphere of the body. And then inhale, come forward to plank pose. On the exhale, bring your left knee up between your elbows. Step your left foot under across your mat. Turn your right heel down and come up to a variation on side plank pose. Let's keep the left arm strong and stable. Keep your hair off your face. And then exhale, bring the right hand down. Pivot the right heel up. Step your left foot back. And return to downward dog pose. Okay, inhale forward to plank. Exhale, right knee forward. Step it under and across your mat. Turn the left heel down. Raise your left arm. It's kind of like a starfish side plank pose thing. And then exhale, bring the left hand down. Pivot your left heel up. Step your right foot back into downward facing dog pose. And then come down to kneeling into Vajrasana. And just check in with yourself. Okay, that's only the first part of your adventure. You check in and see. When we start engaging the arms and we're using the mid back and the upper back like this, the downward pressure that you're applying is a part of our important sort of fight reflex. It's a pushing reflex. We need to have that. So we're going to push some things away in our lives, like maybe some temptations that aren't so helpful to us. We need the strength to make clear boundaries or to acknowledge the space that we need to occupy to feel sovereign and safe. So the reflex is built into the system. It's often used, however, from a sympathetic nervous system place. So it's like pushing away, like disregarding or saying no to, or feeling like that's not available to me. That's not an option for me. And we're kind of giving up on something versus the importance of engaging the actual reflex, which is to push off a threat. Could be a mental threat. Could be the temptation, like I was saying before. So now we're going to add to the sequence. Okay, so let's start this one at the front of the mat in Uttanasana. Okay, so place your feet so they're hip distance apart. Come back to your loving, smooth breath cycle. As you inhale, glide your heart forward into Ardha Uttanasana, half Uttanasana. Exhale, step your left toes straight back. This is called the basic lunge. Place your hands and step backwards to downward dog pose. Okay, let me see if I can get this for you guys, my lefts and rights. Yeah, so inhale, raise your left leg straight up behind you into one-legged dog pose, keeping your hips level right now. So both hips face towards the floor. Press firmly into your right leg and your left arm. The right arm also has responsibilities. Now keep the right outer hip and leg completely stable as you stack your hips, your pelvis over your right thigh. This is Ekapada, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And then exhale, level your hips thoughtfully. So the right thigh is still very stable. Come forward to your original plank pose, knee to chest. Step under with your left foot. Pivot your right heel to the floor. And rise up to your starfish side plank pose, moving your hair off your face on the way up. And then exhale and pivot back to your downward facing dog pose. Okay, inhale, bring your back waist into a place like a parachute. And exhale, left foot forward. And then right foot forward. Uttanasana. Okay, inhale, glide forward, Ardha Uttanasana. Bend your knees, take the right toes back. Place your hands, downward dog pose. Okay, keeping the left leg stable, profoundly stable. Raise your right leg up. Let's keep the hips level so you can really feel the importance of your right arm and your left leg. And then rotate your pelvis over your left thigh. No jostling about for the left leg. And then level your hips. Come forward, right knee to your chest. Step it under and across. Pivot the left heel down. Raise your left arm. Breathe in. And then exhale, touch the left fingers down. Rotate back into downward facing dog pose. Inhale like a parachute into the back of the body. And then exhale, right foot forward. Left foot forward. Uttanasana. Energize the legs. Hands to your hips now. Inhale, rise up to standing. And come to mountain pose. Close your eyes if it's comfortable. You can keep your balance and notice what's happening with prana in your body. And so we have this reflex, that push, which is keeping you strong there. You also need a sense of your own inner stability, which some of those poses are focusing on. And we have this reflex for reaching. So when we reach the arm up, it's part of that reach reflex. Sometimes we're reaching to God or, to the divine or the greater good. Please help me. And sometimes we're reaching to other people, asking for help or support. And it's also helpful that we know how to reach out to people. And we don't shy away from doing that because of our own apprehension. So focusing on that reaching reflex right now, I'd like you to come down to lying on your stomach, and you'll need to have 2 blankets to make this sequence feel more empowering. And I'm setting it up this way because I want you to feel successful. So let's take each blanket like this, and then fold it lengthwise, like that. The practice that we're going to do right now is going to be on the belly. So it's contraindicated if you're pregnant Please keep that in mind. And what I would recommend if you are pregnant and you're in this class is first, thank you for being here and helping to create healthy children, healthy babies. So you could use this as a restorative time instead of as an active time. It's also not 100% recommended to do this practice if you have your menstrual cycle. So instead, again, a restorative pose. And you can have the same two folded blankets, and I would recommend either for pregnancy or for menstruation that we do a pose called Supta Baddha Konasana. Let me just show what that is briefly. You'll come down. Some of you are like, maybe you're over 60, but I'm suddenly pregnant or having my menstrual cycle. I'm going to do the restorative pose, which is fine. You can make the choices that are yours. So you would, for restoration, we're all going to meet up here, by the way. This is our last pose in class, but I'm going to take those of you who are going with me on the other journey. Let me just show this for those who need to come into Supta Baddha Konasana. So like this. So I curled the blanket under my head. Look who's ready for Shavasana here, Nakula. I curled this blanket to raise the head up. So it's like a little waterfall going down to the pelvic basin here. Okay, so we'll all have the option, but for those of you who are not doing belly down poses, that is your option now. And let's see what Nakula allows. He might jump on my back in this pose. He's known for that. Let me pull my hair off my face. So this is Salambhasana. It's not an easy pose. So what we're going to do is place the pelvis on the edge of the blanket here. And come down. Turn your head sideways. Pat the paw of the kitty. I'm going to help you with your bathing, Nakula. Okay, so I'd like the pubic bone to be on the edge of the blanket, so you have the ability to root the tailbone down. And so where you are on the blankets is going to matter because the pubic bone should be able to go off the front edge of the blanket. Not sliding off all the way to the floor, but giving you the ability for this pelvic tilt. And then energize your legs. Bring your head to center. As you lengthen the tailbone, also tone your hamstrings and your quads. Press your shins down, press the knees down. Press the tops of the feet down. Roll the shoulders back and inhale to lift your heart. And breathe rhythmically and smoothly. As you inhale, sweep your arms wide. Raise your wingtips up to the sky. And then inhale, sweep the arms forward. Breathe in as you reach. Exhale, arms wide. Inhale, take flight. And exhale, come down. Turn your head to one side. Relax the breath. This is also why we don't eat before yoga class. Okay, we're going to repeat that practice. So please come to center. Energize your legs. Breathe into the back of your waist. And as you roll the shoulders up, inhale to lift. Inhale, arms wide. Keeping the breath smooth as you next inhale, reach the arms forward. Breathe in. Exhale, arms wide. And then inhale, take flight. And exhale, come down. Turn your head to the other side this time. And then place your hands beneath your shoulders. Lift your hips and reach back to child's pose. The child's pose is a counter pose for the prana. It may be a counter pose for some of you, like for your lower back, you may feel that, but it's really a counter pose for the prana. And that's what counter poses are for. Yoga, it doesn't care that much actually about the musculoskeletal architecture of asana historically. It does contemporarily, because we've done that here in the West quite a bit. But it's very interested in, Hatha Yoga is very interested in apana and prana vayu are balanced. So in this pose, you have apana vayu in child's pose. In salambasana, that was a lot of prana vayu. Don't sit on that, please. And so now we're going to walk up to sitting, kneeling, and we're going to turn about, and we all get to do Supta Baddha Konasana, which is this restorative pose. I just need to move a few things so they don't knock them over during the resting time. Okay, so turn about, sit on your mat, put the soles of the feet together. When you lie back, put the blocks under your knees, curl the blanket under your head so that it's under your neck and gives your head the support you need, but it's also going to be supporting your lower back. Because if the head doesn't have enough support, the lower back will feel like it doesn't have enough support. And then you're risking it with your favorite shawl and the cats. But I do like this kind of hovering up a bit for Shavasana. It just feels like a lovely gesture. You're not required to do it. You're welcome to get a blanket if you'd like to. Okay, and then please drop in for resting and renewing. Allow your mind to come inward and downward towards the pelvic basin. This is an incredible resource for us as humans. I mean, speaking of pregnancy and menstruation, it's an incredible resource for us to be connected to the body in all parts. But let's not overlook this lower part of the abdomen. As you rest in Shavasana, observe prana coming back into balance. It's going to be evenly dispersed and balanced through your torso, your limbs, the organs, the mind, everything. Invite your thinking mind to be simply aware of the breath in the lowest part of the pelvis. And invite the breath to be very subtle and very simple. Keep your gaze down towards the abdomen, the mind following the simplicity of inhale and exhale. Simply observe your body breathing you. You're not making it happen. It's receiving the in-breath and surrendering the out-breath. Notice your body balancing with prana. Your arms will get heavier. The fingers and toes will get warmer. Relax the skin of your body and let the mind continue to simply observe the coming and going of the breath. Allow the arms and legs to get heavier and more relaxed. Let your mind continue resting in just the simplicity of being breathed. Your mind is prone to distractions or daydreaming. You could say to the mind, nothing to do, nothing to undo, nothing to want, nothing missing, nowhere to go, simply at home. Nothing to do, nothing to undo, nothing to want, nothing missing, nowhere to go, simply at home. And keeping your mind at rest in the pelvis, please wiggle your fingers and your toes. Bring your knees up to center. Lift the legs out straight. And you'll notice that prana continues to balance itself. So the sense that circulation makes it to the feet. Prana is balancing as well. And then we're going to transition up to sitting. So please roll to your side. And use both hands to come up to sit. Without disturbing baby pandas. Sit on what makes you feel comfortable and stable. Comfortable and stable. Sukham Stiram Asanam. From the second pada of the Yoga Sutras. The seat should be comfortable and stable so you can stay a while. Okay. Yeah. You want to find your place? We're going to meditate for a few minutes. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, you can hide. It's all right. Yeah. Okay, let's rest the hands in the lap. You can close your eyes. And so having balanced prana means that we're less prone to craving and aversion, less prone to run the habituations, and more likely to make wise choices. Please raise your hands to your heart. And may this practice restore our inner sense of sovereignty. That is the right to understand our own bodies and our energy and to make choices for ourselves. May it also restore our inner sense of dignity and worthiness. our capacity to have a warm regard towards ourselves, and to know in a deep way the unconditional belonging that's already granted to us by life. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining us for this practice. I hope that you feel renewed and restored, and that your prana feels balanced. I'll be curious to learn from you how that then balances out the choices you're going to make going forward from this practice. If you have questions about yoga psychology or yoga therapy training, or even about addiction recovery, please leave your questions and comments down below the video. If you have questions about yoga training, yoga teacher training, yoga therapy training, check out the URL that's here. It's also in the description below this video. If you're interested in my specific work with addiction recovery, check out this URL for Hunger, Hope, and Healing, a recovery program that I created for helping women to overcome eating disorders, body image issues, yo-yo dieting, food addiction, compulsive eating, binge eating, and so on. Also compulsive exercising and restricting, and orthorexia, anorexia, and so on. So if you have any questions at all, please do put them in the comments. I look forward to hearing from you. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. I really appreciate when you do, and I'll see you for the next class. Thank you.